Hey, my name is Zach, and I'm going to tell you about my first week as an IT manager. So, a little background about myself. How I first got into IT was a bit random. I was at a point in my life where I needed to make a change. I used to be a janitor, and I was a janitor for like 7 years. And as I was approaching 30 years old, I figured I needed to pick a career that would actually support me, my family, things like that. So, as chance would have it, I got hacked and some of my information was leaked online. And so some people were trying to break into my online accounts. And I started asking around, like, who takes care of this type of work? And I found out about cybersecurity. So I was 29 years old and I was like, dang, maybe I should do cybersecurity. And so I just decided one day I'm going to do cybersecurity. Um, and as I was talking to one of my IT friend, and he told me about doing the CompTIA A plus certification. So I figured, what the heck, I'll do the A plus certification and try and break in through the help desk like most people. So that's what I did. I studied for my A plus, and before I even passed the A plus, I got a job at a large organization. And when I was working there, I did as much self development as I could possibly do. I finished my A plus during my first year there, and then after that, I went for my Network Plus, and then I eventually got the Network Plus. And as I worked there, I eventually moved into working on their Unix and Linux team. Um, Part of the obsession was I wanted to learn Linux because that's what cybersecurity guys learn. So, anywho, I did self development as much as possible. Got into a PowerShell collaboration, learned PowerShell, um, and I took any opportunity that I possibly could while I was working at that company. So as time goes on, I figure I need to do anything I possibly can to make more money in IT. And part of that was deciding that I wanted to go back to college. So I enrolled in Western Governors University, and then that was probably about summer of 2025. And so in summer of 2025, I started WGU. At that point, I'd already been studying for the Security Plus, so I figured why not just enroll in WGU in the program that I'm doing. The Security Plus is part of it. It's the Cybersecurity and Information Assurance degree. So I started that in the summer of 2025, and then my wife became pregnant at the beginning of that year. And so I started getting concerned. I was like, I need to make more money. So I was trying to do anything I could to develop myself. And then we had our baby in the end of the year. And then the next year, um, I wasn't really trying to get a job. I was just trying to manage having a new baby and a wife. So what happened was I randomly was hit up by somebody from this company that I'm now working at. This person sent me a message on a job board and they said, hey, do you want to interview for this role? And so I saw the role of IT manager, and the salary was much more than I was thinking that I was worth. And so my initial reaction was like, yeah, I guess I could do that. Like, I didn't really think that I was qualified, but I was like, shoot, I'll interview for it. So I interviewed for it, and I really kicked it off with him. And then I had a second interview with the CEO, and she liked me. And so they sent me an offer letter. So at this point, I put in my 2 weeks at my previous job now, and I'm now thinking, okay, I'm going to be an IT manager. And so my first day, I had no idea what to expect. At this point, I need to back up a little. So when I went to my first day of work at this new company, I knew that they were letting the previous IT guy go. I show up and I was told that that same day that their previous IT manager was going to be let go. So I'm there in their office waiting for them to let go the new IT manager. So they let go of the IT manager. I start my day. I take over his computer and his phone, and now they're like, you're now the new IT manager. So for me, in my perspective, it felt super scary because I was now responsible for everything in their organization. And we're talking application servers, infrastructure servers, domain controllers, security cameras, all the devices, iPhones, iPads, contracts, ordering new supplies, taking care of break fix issues. Everything was now in my lap. So for me, that was really scary. Something that really helped me at that point was trying to figure out what documentation they had. I didn't know where anything was. I didn't know the IPs of their any of their main servers. I didn't know anything. I just knew where their server room was, and that's about it. So I was digging around their file servers, and then eventually I found documentation from the old IT guy, and that saved my butt. Um, Another thing that freaked me out was I didn't know if backups were being ran. So I was freaking out the first several days, like, where are backups? Are things even getting backed up? And people didn't really seem to worry about it. So I was like, I guess this is just how it is. So eventually I did figure out that things are getting backed up. And it's kind of interesting working at a medium-sized business where if you're the sole IT guy, no one's going to hand you a map and say, here's all of the stuff that you need to take care of. Especially in my situation, since there was not really a handoff or training, it was just here, take care of our systems. And so that's essentially what I did. And now currently I'm working on my own documentation. And it's crazy too, because when people have break fix issues like my email's not working or I need these files from this other person's computer or whatever the case may be, I have to drop everything, do that, then get back onto like, hey, let me make sure that the servers don't crash and everybody loses their data and freaks out. Something else that helped me too was figuring out prioritization. So you have to figure out what exactly is the most important thing at that moment. So for me was if a server crashes, will we be able to restore? Once I found the backups, I could take a breath and say, okay, cool, yeah, we can actually restore from the last checkpoint, whatever the case may be. So I realized this is my first video on YouTube talking. I'll definitely make more videos about my IT path and things that I think are useful for people in their careers. If you're interested in IT and systems administration, consider subscribing.